Alright guys, so this was not the video I planned on doing. The video I planned on doing was talking about rebuilding Kymar. MTG Jedi did a video not too long ago talking about the new era of Kymar, basically damage dealer Kymar. Well, I was going to basically rebuild my Kymar because I pulled a new one recently. It frees up my original Kymar, which I ended up just rebuilding him because he had 2-star blessing anyways, gives me an extra 750 attack. But I built him as a nuke champion. Now with that video, I was using my old Fire Knight team, but taking the Kymar that was fast, making him slower, doing more damage, and it worked out very well. I shaved off like 10 or 15 seconds from my team, which is pretty cool. However, I was thinking, you know what, Cardiel, a lot of people don't have him. I don't really want to use him, but I feel like I have to use him. And I was thinking, is there any other champion that I could fit in for the ally attack? Well, Grand Oak Padraig has a cleanse, which is incredible. He has increased speed. I have a decreased speed in my team anyways. So I was thinking, well, what if I take Grand Oak Padraig, make him just slower than the boss? So as soon as the boss is a decreased speed, which is a very impactful debuff, if you don't have Grand Oak Padraig, if you don't have a cleanse champion to counter that decreased speed, your run's going to be very, very difficult to make work, assuming you're waiting until the Fire Knight does the slam. So I figured, you know what, let's go ahead and max out Grand Oak Padraig. Literally took him up within the last 30 minutes, and this hour-and-a-half video that I did is now going to be deleted. So now the team that I'm going to be using as my brand new main Fire Knight team is this one right here. Grand Oak Padraig, Kymar, Newt, Gwendolyn, and Martyr. This run, the best time was 1 minute and 4 seconds. Should have been in my thumbnail, but it averages under 1 minute and 30 seconds. So far, it's been no fails. I've ran it 6 times. I'm going to run it more, so check the comment section below. You should be able to see the screenshot from RSL Helper with more runs, probably at least 25 before this video goes up, but I'm going to continue running it. Actually, let's go ahead and see one more run, 1 minute 17. Check out how fast this run is, especially specifically through the waves. So what Grand Oak is doing here, different than Cardiel, is he's giving Gwendolyn an increased attack. So the increased attack buff is incredible for her damage on these waves. He's also, well, most importantly, cleansing the decreased speed, the decreased defense, and also he's placing, well, doing the increased turn meter plus the increased speed on us. And then the next turn, he is doing the ally attack. The ally attack is needed. The increased speed is needed. Everything in this team that he's bringing is definitely needed. You can see there that Kymar was a little bit concerning potentially, which I may go in here and actually give him an HP or defense ring so he can be a little bit more tanky. But so far, it's been perfectly fine. Kymar has never been an issue as far as actually surviving here. So I'm just going to assume that was just the most he's going to take. But I will go in and change that, give him a little bit more survivability. But here we go. You can see Grand Oak already did the cleanse. I'll show you guys the speeds. They are important. Not so much the specific speeds, but the order of the champions is pretty important. And understanding why the speeds are the way they are. So we have Newt coming in with the first A3. We have Kymar resetting everything. And then Grand Oak about to do another ally attack. If we miss some of the turn meter decrease, it's not that big of a deal. Now, we do want to make sure we get some of the turn meter decrease, but we have increased speed on us, or at least we did. I don't know where it's at now. I guess it just fell off or something, but we had increased speed, and he has decreased speed on the boss. There we go. It's a very, very solid team, I'd say. Best time, 1 minute and 4 seconds. So here are the speeds of the champions. So what we have is Newt, 244. The Fire Knight speed on stage 10 hard is 250. So you want to be under 250. So Newt is 244. Grand Oak Padraig is 249, so he's right below the Fire Knight speed. That's very key. Martyr, on the other hand, needs to be a little bit faster than the Fire Knight. She's 255. Then we have Prince Kymar's 222, and then Gwendolyn's 204. These ones don't matter as much. Kymar could be faster. As long as he's going in a proper order with Newt, it's not going to be any issue whatsoever. So Kymar and Gwendolyn, her speed doesn't matter as much because she takes extra turns anyways. So whenever the Fire Knight hits, she does a counterattack. She's probably going to get an extra turn, so she's going to jump in front of Newt to begin with anyways. So her speed isn't as big of a deal. You could make her even slower than this, and it's going to be A-okay. Now, when I show you guys these stats versus the stats in my character selection screen, I do have quite a bit of Fire Knight bonuses. So if it looks different, just remember, I may not have selected the Fire Knight bonuses. But for Newt, round 1, round 2, round 3. For Martyr, make sure you have Faultless Defense. This is very, very important. You want at least a 1-star blessing. That's going to reflect the damage back onto the Fire Knight. You also want to make sure, if you have any bolster or shield sets, that it's not so much that the Martyr's, the shield's not being broken. So the shield has to be broken. It has to do damage to your champion in order to reflect damage back onto the Fire Knight. So Martyr, round 1, round 2, round 3. So a champion like Valkyrie is not going to work, though you could possibly use a different increased defense champion, but it'd be very few you actually use. I can't really give any good suggestion for that. So really, just use this. You're going to be fine. Padraig, of course, could be Cardiel, but he's not Cardiel because he's free. Well, not free. He was in an event recently, which, speaking of, I kind of wish I would have got a soul at this point. I would probably, if you have a soul for him and it's not like doing that much for you, I would probably do Phantom Touch. I mean, Phantom Touch will give, I think, 100% chance at 5-star to do an extra hit. So he's going to get an extra hit from the A1 ability or whatever skill he uses. So it's going to knock the shield down even a little bit quicker. So any champion who can have it, go Phantom Touch. Newt, I don't have Phantom Touch on him, but it could possibly be valuable as well. Even though it does scale off of attack, it's the extra hits that Phantom Touch places that's so useful. So Kymar, round 1, round 2, round 3. Gwendolyn, round 1, round 2, round 3. Now she's built pretty well. This can't be Razelvarg, I don't think, because she brings decreased speed. Razelvarg does not bring decreased speed. So it's a pretty specific champion. However, Zinogre may be able to replace her. It's going to be slower through the waves, but Zinogre brings a decreased speed, right? Let's see. I don't have Zinogre like with a blessing. She brings increased speed, no decreased speed. So you need a champion with decreased speed and ideally a multi-hitter on their abilities, specifically A1. So honestly, Gwendolyn may just be one of the best champions for this. Multi-hitter with A1. Yeah. Neldor. Neldor could possibly do it. He has an A3 with a decreased speed, multi-hit on the A1. So actually he could be a very solid champion. If you don't have Gwendolyn, consider using Neldor. Could definitely potentially work. So with the builds, we have Martyr. She's in Bolster. Like I said, make sure the Bolster's not so crazy that you're not taking damage. For Fire Knight, these are her stats. You already saw those in the previous selection screen. Skills, this is what she has going on as far as the masteries. Skills, everything's fully booked. Most importantly, the A2. Actually, no, nothing really that important to have fully booked, but the extra damage is nice to have. You do want to have Faultless Defense. I'll talk about team positioning in just a moment because that's very important as well. So then we have Gwendolyn. Gwendolyn is built very damage heavy for me. So she is one of my better built damage dealers. You could scale her back a little bit. It's okay. If you have good wave control, you're going to survive fine anyways. The waves aren't the problem. I just want to get through them as quickly as possible. So skills, everything's fully booked. Phantom Touch, once again, even if it's a 1 or 2 star, it's fine. But 5-star Phantom Touch has a 75% chance of inflicting bonus damage. So a little bit extra hits to the Fire Knight shield is always helpful. Then we have Giant Slayer to squeeze out a little bit extra damage on her. Then Newt, we have Giant Slayer also. Everything's fully booked. Make sure he's slower than Grand Oak Padraig. Basically, if Grand Oak Padraig goes before Newt, Newt's got the decreased speed, so it's just not as useful. Just make sure Grand Oak is like right underneath the Fire Knight speed, including your area bonuses. Make sure you pay attention to those. Newt's build, you already saw that. And then we have Prince Kymar. He's just in a damage dealing build. Like I mentioned before, this damage dealing build is what I was testing out. But speaking of, I think I'm going to redo this to HP or defense. Which is HP at? It's at 47,000, defense at 2,500. So we're going to go a ring with HP or a ring with defense probably. HP and defense would be very good if I can find anything like that. Let's go priority stats, defense here. Low HP. This is actually the best one, it seems like. 7,000 extra HP. It should give me enough to make this much more safe and more consistent. Not that it's too risky before, but I prefer it just to be a little bit better off, you know. I can glyph that up later on. Now for Grand Oak Padraig's build, this is one that is really up to whatever you want to do. I tried going 2-piece Merciless and 4-piece Reflex, which is kind of cool, but it's kind of useless for him because you have Kymar resetting, so he never has anything on cooldown, so he's really not using his A1 anyways. But having the Reflex plus Merciless is something you could do in the future on a different champion. For him, all I'm worried about is having having a stroke, apparently, having sustainability. So 60,000 HP, 3,100 defense. We have good speed, but make sure that he's going right below the Fire Knight speed. 100% crit rate or 111 if you feel a little bit, uncaring about your gear. 188% crit damage. He's just built for this. Basically, just for this content. That's all I'm caring about right now is just him for Fire Knight. I don't plan on using him anywhere else, though he may come in handy somewhere else as well. For me, for your account, you can build him in whatever set works good for the area you're focused on. You could do Relentless set. No problem with that whatsoever either, I don't think. Sometimes Relentless makes the runs take a little bit longer if it activates on the waves, but if it activates on the boss, it shouldn't have any issues, honestly. It should be perfectly fine, actually, as far as I'm aware. But Relentless could be a good set for him. Relentless plus Merciless, actually. That could be a very good set. So up next we have, let's see. Actually, I'm thinking about it. That could be very good if it actually procced and worked out correctly. Either way, his masteries are right here. Now, I did try him earlier in a bolster set, I believe, or a shield set. They combine with Martyr's bolster, so it makes one big shield. With that, it was actually bad because it was too much shield. Now, if you make it to where your champions have enough shield where it breaks the shield, but it's not so much shield where it doesn't break it, so find that sweet spot, then have an extra shield set on him is perfectly fine. But if you can't do that, make sure that whatever set you have him in is just good survivability. You could, if you have him at 5-star Blessing, You could go something like Guardian to protect your other champions a little bit better. There's just various different builds you could go with them. Less about the specific set, because I don't think anything outside of Relentless will be like that massive for him in this team specifically. So it's really, if you use him in other content, build him like that. His multipliers I don't think are great either. So the damage he deals isn't going to be crazy. I actually don't even know what his multipliers are. So let's see. Multipliers on the A1 is a 3.3. So it's not great, but it's not bad either. 3.3 A1. He could do some damage, but in the end, it's not really going to be comparable even to War Master hits. The War Master hit's just going to be better from him. So he hits with War Master, does a little chunk of damage. But here we go. Newt coming in with the A3 ability, going ahead and starting off this chunking out the Fire Knight. Now you'll notice with the team order that I have Newt in the front. Typically, Newt is not in the front. I have him there just to hopefully speed up the run a little bit. I'm thinking that this gives me less animation time of the run from here to there versus a place like Martyr. That's why Newt's in the front. Typically, you have Newt in the back. If you have a hard time breaking the shield, it may be best to have Newt in the back because the ally attack from Padraig is going to have Newt's hits in the very end. So if the shield breaks, then you could have Newt reducing the turn meter. But in this team, in the way I'm breaking the shield, I don't need that. Newt's fine in the front. Martyr in the second place. The reason why Martyr's second is so after Newt breaks the shield, hopefully Martyr from the ally attack is going to be a place to the decreased defense. So then Padraig, Kymar, and Gwendolyn can take the benefits of having that decreased defense applied. Then Padraig can be really whatever spot, and Gwendolyn's in the very back so that she can hopefully apply the decreased speed at a little bit more consistent rate. But in the end, honestly, it doesn't matter. Matter of fact, it should actually be Gwendolyn and then Kymar, because Kymar does have a poison that he places, which would be nice to have pretty consistently because sometimes the Fire Knight gets low. In this run, I haven't noticed it ever happen where the Fire Knight gets an extra turn. In this run, every single time we do it, there's been no extra turns from the Fire Knight. It's just one slam, it's done. In the Cardiel version, there would be cases where he gets an extra turn. In those cases, you want to make sure that you have extra poisons on the boss to hopefully kill him if you can. But like I said, in these runs so far, he's not gotten any extra turns whatsoever. Every single time I got into the boss, it's been one shield slam and then it's done, which is super, super sweet. Like I said, I'm going to do probably 20, 25 runs or more. Actually, I'll probably just leave it on for a little while I'm editing this video, see how many he gets, and then paste the results down below for you guys. But this is super cool. This is for everybody out there who has been looking for a Fire Knight 10 hard team that's not using Cardiel. This is the one. So if you like it, don't forget to drop a comment, guys. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like on the video, all that kind of good stuff that really helps the channel, helps the videos get spread out. But I really like this. I don't know if people have already done the videos on Padraig in this specific team or a team like this. I feel like Gwendolyn isn't very used and that she pairs with Padraig so well in this team that there's not many other substitutes. There may be, like I said, Neldor. I think Neldor could work out very well. Martyr is pretty heavily needed. Valkyrie could maybe kind of work, but you're missing out on 5 shield hits. So it's not going to be nearly as good as Martyr is. And look there, like we have an entire extra A3 ability from Newt there just waiting to go off. This team's awesome. And if you have a 5-star Padraig, it's going to be even better because he's going to take less damage and you can potentially have Phantom Touch on him if you want to go Phantom Touch. I know it feels weird having Phantom Touch on him, but honestly, the reason why I skipped his Blessing anyways is because I didn't know what could even possibly be used on him and make sense. Kymar, he switched to damage dealing build, but honestly, I'm not sure how much this extra 986,000 damage is really doing. But hey, I mean, he's clearing the waves a little bit quicker, I guess, for me, helping me get through them. But I really like the idea of getting through these waves so quick. Like basically one-shotting that first wave, a little bit more damage from somebody, and we can definitely one-shot that wave. Maybe get Martyr to do a little bit more. But either way, I'm more than happy with this. Martyr could be reduced to 251 speed. Padraig just needs to be 249. Newt, a little bit slower. Kymar, make sure he goes slower than Newt so he resets after Newt does the big A3. And then Gwendolyn, doesn't really matter. You'll see here that you know she's a lot slower than Newt, but she'll do the counterattack and then get an extra turn. So then she's already just basically cutting in and working towards her next turn already. So you'll see this here. Boom, she gets a turn. And now, before Newt even takes a turn, she's already working on her next one. So now Newt gets a turn. She's already 50% into her next turn. So she's already much faster than Newt, even though she's like 50 speed almost slower than him, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Probably doesn't. If I could make it to where she was going slower than him, actually, it could be better because then he'd get to use the A3 into the A3. So like right here, if I can make him go before Gwendolyn goes, then he would get to use the A3 before she took a turn, which would be cool, but it doesn't really matter, honestly. But she's just jumping in, filling up some turns. She does a lot of damage, though. She actually did about as much damage as Newt, I think, which is kind of crazy. 3.6 million, 3.1 million. So yeah, Great damage throughout the team. Padraig not doing much except for just being a boss, being a mossy boss. All right, guys, enough of that. If you need some help with your speed, though, you can always go his speed aura in the dungeons. Just remember that you need to be under the ball speed, but that makes for some super slow speeds. Just think about it. If you have a 25% speed aura in Fire Knight, you could be 225 speed, and then your equivalent, basically, assuming you have 100 base speed, your equivalent of 250. So you don't want to do 225, like 224. If you have a higher base speed, like Padraig's base speed, you might want to go like 220 or 219. That's some very, very low speeds, guys. This is probably, I think, one of the easiest Fire Knight builds because of how slow the speeds are. Padraig in the lead is actually crazy. I have Newt there for the increased accuracy, but it's not really being utilized that much, honestly. So to be honest, that could be pretty crazy, the lowness of the speeds that could be gone. But guys, it's been 15 minutes. Much better than the hour-and-a-half video I was about to have to edit. So I'm going to get this situated, get it posted. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I want to turn RSL Helper on some more, let it run down these fights, see how it performs. Hopefully we have a 100% success rate after about 20 matches, and it'll be good to go. Happy to share it with you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Thank you all very much for watching, all the support. I love and appreciate all of you, and I'll catch you in the next video.